And the wolves trap tumbling down in the city that we love. All over the hills, singing darkness for love.
But if you close your eyes, does it always feel like nothing? All right, fourth graders. If you don't know that song already, it's called Pompeii, and it reminded me of our story today because we are learning about, well, we're starting the story, Escape from Pompeii. And we're going to learn all about that place today while we read. I also wanted to show you guys this cool bracelet I have because it is actually made of rocks from a volcano. How cool is that? I've actually been to Pompeii, so you will figure all of that out today while we read, fourth graders. Let me get my screen shared, and let's get started with this story. I'm obviously a huge fan of the story since I've been to this city of Pompeii. And let's look at our learning intention. We are learning how to analyze key details to develop the setting and events in a literary story and make some inferences today, fourth graders. You remember those two parts of an inference? Yeah, you use that text evidence and that schema of yours to come up with your inference. Great job. So we know we are successful today when we can find those details in the text that specifically describe the setting. Then we're going to use those details that describe the setting to make an inference. So we're not going to find those details twice. I just meant that you're going to use those details to form your inference. All right, so for our foundational skill today, we are learning about synonyms and antonyms. Now remember, synonyms, they mean the same. So those are words that have the same meaning. Antonyms, they mean the opposite. How many words? Well, I could sing that whole song for days, but antonym is the opposite. So we are going to look at these words and figure out what is a synonym and what is an antonym. So think of the word beautiful. If you're saying that something is beautiful, what's another word you could use to describe it? Now, what's the opposite of beautiful? I feel like that's an easy one. Hopefully, you said it could be pretty is something with the same meaning, and ugly is something that is the opposite of beautiful. What about massive? Something is massive. We learned that in one of our other stories. What else is another word for massive? Yeah, like huge, right? What's the opposite of something that's huge? Yeah, it'd be tiny, right? So there are some synonyms and antonyms. What about fearless? If somebody has no fear, what's another word for that? What about an antonym? What about the opposite? Yeah, so if you have no fears, that means you're really brave, right? And the opposite of being brave is being really scared. Let's do one more. If you're daring, makes me think of the word dare. If someone dares you to do something, you have to be what? You got to be courageous, right? Or brave. And the opposite of that would be you're timid. You're a little scared. So today you're going to read this story about tornadoes, and it's working with some synonyms and antonyms. All right, let's look at this picture. Do you guys notice anything? So this is the city of Pompeii, or this is Pompeii. And then up here, what do you think this is? It is Vesuvius, and we're going to learn today what is Vesuvius. Let me get my arrow ready, and let's get started, fourth graders. On a hillside overlooking sparkling Bay of Naples, the Roman city of Pompeii glimmered in the sunlight. From his window, young Tranio listened to the music humming from bars, taverns, and shops around him, and to the busy tradesmen haggling in the streets below. Beyond the massive city, he could see Pompeii's greatest protector looming in the distance. They called it Vesuvius, the gentle mountain. Could any place feel safer than here? Tranio wondered. Was anything more beautiful? So let's look at these pictures. So it looks like from what they're wearing, can you kind of guess where Pompeii is? It says the Bay of Naples. So it's actually all the way in Rome. So that is, let's keep reading. Tranio was the son of Dion, the actor, and lived with his parents near the theater district of Pompeii. He'd often sneak to the harbor at the mouth of the river Sarnus and hide behind sacks of grain. There he'd watch pots of wine, oil, and spices being carried to and from the ships, or fishermen unloading their rich catches. So this must be our main character right here. And he's watching all of these things we just read about. They're carrying things in from their ships. Oh, wow, we have another picture here. What do you think's happening in this picture, fourth graders? Let's keep reading and see. Sometimes Tranio went to the forum to listen to the politicians make their speeches, the shopkeepers argue, and the poets sing. So that's what that picture was. His favorite song was Rumble Down, Tumble Down, Great City Walls. Feel the ground grumble, the citizens stumble when the earth shakes, and rumble down, tumble down. Everyone would join in, laughing as they remembered the earthquake tremors. A few years before Tranio was born, there had been a big earthquake in Pompeii, and parts of the town had still not been fully repaired. But nobody took tremors seriously anymore. On other days, Tranio would shout up to Livia, the baker's daughter who lived across the street. Liv, stop curling your hair and come and play jacks. I've got a bag of bones from my mother's kitchen. They're just the right size. Livia spent most of her time learning to weave and cook. But during the hot afternoons, she and Tranio would sit by the fountain and play knucklebones or chase dogs down the street. One hot August day, Dion took Tranio through a shady passage into one of Pompeii's 2 theaters on the edge of the city, where a pantomime was being rehearsed. Sit on the steps, son, and learn, said Dion. We'll be using you in small parts soon. To begin with, Tranio enjoyed watching the sword fights and strutting clowns, the masked actors playing thieves and devils, and the leaping acrobats quite took his breath away. But eventually, his attention began to wander. So here he is playing with his friend. Livia's right here. We're done for today, fourth graders. So let's look back. How does the narrator describe the geographic setting of Pompeii? So we kind of already talked about it a little bit. So where is this story taking place? Where is Pompeii? Hopefully, yeah, you paused your video and you looked back. It's located on the Bay of Naples, so it's right by the water. So when we talk about those geographic location, we're talking about all the land that's around it. So what other things did they talk about? Let's look at this picture. What other geographic thing did they talk about, fourth graders? Yeah, you're right. Do you remember what its name is? It is Vesuvius, the gentle mountain. So that's right by where they live too. And it's looming in the distance. So it's just hanging out back there. What other geographical thing have we been learning about that they talked about right here, fourth graders? Good job. Yeah, earthquakes. We just learned all about earthquakes. So there were tremors that had happened there a few years before Tranio had been born. Good job. All right, so the setting, the mood or atmosphere of a story is also part of the setting. To create a certain mood, an author carefully chooses words with appropriate meanings or accusations. So when we're reading it, we kind of get a feel of how the characters are feeling. So let's look at this little piece of the story. What words in the text develop Tranio's feelings about Pompeii? How do we know what Tranio is feeling? Pause your video here and look through this passage. Look through this little paragraph. All right, fourth graders, hopefully you took some time to look over that paragraph. And if you could underline it, I hope that you notice down here where they say, could any place be safer than here? Tranio wondered. Was anything more Beautiful. So now I'm thinking, I know he feels safe. I know he thinks that it's beautiful, but what words up at the top show us that he thinks this place is beautiful? So it says up here, on a hillside overlooking the sparkling Bay of Naples. So if it's sparkling, it kind of seems pretty to me, right? The city of Pompeii. Ooh, right there. What is that word, fourth graders? Glimmered. So it's sparkling in the sunlight. From his window, he listened to the humming from the bars. So there are just some clues that he thinks is beautiful. Now, why does he feel safe? Yes, they have a protector. They say Vesuvius is their protector, so that is why he feels safe. Great job, fourth graders. All right, let's keep on rolling. So another question about setting. Which details from the text suggest that Pompeii is thriving? It is a thriving city. That means it's doing really well. There's a lot of business. So what details show us that this city is thriving? Let's look here on this page. I'm going to pause this video and see if you can figure it out, fourth graders. All right, hopefully you took some time to look over this page, and let's see what I thought. So he'd often sneak to the harbor at the mouth of the river and hide behind sacks of grain. So there he'd watch pots of wine, oil, spices being carried to and from the fish, and the fishermen unloading their catches. So he's seeing all of these things coming into the harbor, fourth graders, and that shows me that this city has a lot of things. Another clue that shows the city is thriving is look at these streets. Everybody's out there trading. And I know he talked up here, there's a lot of humming from bars, taverns, and shops. People are trading. So they've got a lot going on. What about on this page? What do they talk about? Yeah, they're kind of talking about art, poetry, poems. They're all getting together and focusing on that form of art. So it shows they have the time to do that. So they are thriving. All right, fourth graders, it is your turn for that reading response. So what can you infer about Trainio's favorite song lyrics? Are they going to be important to this story? And then how does the title connect to what the poet sang about? So I included in your seesaw this part of the song so you can look back at it in case you forgot it and just see what can you infer about how that connects with this story. Fourth graders, you did amazing today. As always, I can't wait to see you next time. Bye.